One of the hardest things to sell in our current role is our accounting module. Every property management company needs some custom work. So through our mock certification process, it was very, very clear when folks were reading off of scripts or were spending maybe 30 seconds on a tough topic and then immediately transitioning and asking the prospect a different question to deflect and go into the next topic. So two things that we would look for. One was during the certification process, how much time did you actually spend on the tough topics? Because a lot of our good sellers would roll past those very quickly and get into the next question and be able to kind of skirt their way around it. That was definitely a big one. How much time did they spend on it? And then we had to iterate our certification process and actually dig deep into, specific modules, how they actually work. Because a lot of these folks surface level would be able to answer the questions in a professional manner. But when we got into the nitty gritty, they weren't able to dig deep into the product. So I would say looking at the amount of time sellers spend on the more challenging aspects of the sale during the certification process and making sure I'm the role play, I'm the prospect, asking those customized questions that prospects are going to ask that will kind of make the salesperson trip. I would rather them trip up during the certification process rather than live on a call with a prospect.
Yeah, I was always thinking about there were like 3 levels to selling. And level 1, if you just use a discovery call as an example, you've got beginning, middle, end. Could you set an agenda? Did you find one problem? Could you set next steps? And it wasn't always going to be very pretty the way they did it. But if you could at least do those 3 things and like get to a problem, I was like, that's step 1. That's usually like SMB level, my expectation. Level 2 is like, were you able to do it with like a little bit of style? Like, were you able to read the body language and like insert a story at the right time in a way that it didn't feel awkward? Were you able to like lay off on the questions when it made sense to lay off and you got the sense that they were like getting a little bit cagey? And that's level 2. That's like mid-market selling. And then once you get into like enterprise or like really, really high quality, high caliber sellers, that's when it's like, can you actually change a prospect's perspective or like come off as a peer-to-peer advisor? Or if they diagnose the problem the wrong way, can you challenge their diagnosis? And usually what I'm looking for is like, can you get that level 1 stuff? And then just like show me that you at least gave a shot at the level 2 stuff. Like, can you get the parts and at least show like a touch of finesse that shows me that you're going to get it at some point eventually?
I think the easiest place to find this is in discovery. You have people that they're going through the onboarding and certification process. They have the questions that they know they need to answer. And then the prospect feels like it's an interrogation. So that level 2 is how do you make sure you're getting your qualifying questions out during discovery, but it doesn't feel like an interrogation. And I feel like so many folks, especially during onboarding and certification, they have their list of 5 questions. And it's like, Armin, how many listings do you have? Where are you located? And it's an interrogation. It's not a sales process. That's the area where it stands out the most to me during onboarding is, can you do it with a little finesse? Can you add some rapport building skills into the mix?